Okay, so get this. Today we're diving into cancer treatments,
Okay.
but with a twist.
Right.
We're going to be talking about anti-parasitic drugs,
Yeah.
specifically ivermectin and fenbendazole.
Right.
Now, before you think we've wandered into like a sci-fi movie or something,
Yeah.
let's be super clear.
Yeah.
Everything that we're unpacking today is coming straight from research that you sent us.
And it's fascinating research, by the way.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Drugs that are designed to tackle parasites
Yeah.
might hold secrets to fighting cancer.
Wow.
I mean, that's the beauty of, right?
Yeah.
Scientific exploration,
Yeah.
sometimes the most unexpected avenues
Ecstasy.
lead to breakthroughs.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So no miracle cures or wild speculation here, just a real
Just the facts.
deep dive into the nitty-gritty.
It's deep dive.
Yeah. Our mission is to try to understand
Okay.
how these drugs, and these are drugs that are already being used in humans and animals for parasitic infections,
Right.
might actually work against cancer cells.
It's all about potential. Right.
Right. Yeah.
What we're seeing in the lab and in these preclinical studies needs further investigation.
Of course.
But the initial findings are definitely intriguing, wouldn't you say?
100%. I mean, just the concept of repurposing existing drugs for cancer treatment is kind of mind-blowing in itself.
It is. It is.
Right. But let's break it down a little bit, and let's start with ivermectin.
Okay.
The research kind of suggests that it might be a
Okay.
bit of a multitasker when it comes to taking on cancer cells.
It really does, yeah. One of the most exciting areas of research, I think, focuses on ivermectin's potential to trigger what's called immunogenic cell death,
Oh,
or ICD.
ICD sounds intense.
It does, but it's a good thing.
Okay, so
It's a really good thing.
break that down for us. What is that?
So imagine this.
Okay.
Ivermectin enters the battleground,
Yeah.
right? The tumor microenvironment.
Oh, okay.
Now, instead of just quietly killing cancer cells, it triggers a very specific type of death, one that sends a loud signal to the immune system,
Oh, wow.
basically saying, hey, we have a problem here, come deal with this.
So it's like ivermectin is almost like raising the alarm.
Yes.
Right. It's turning what might have been a stealthy enemy into a very visible target
A beacon.
for the immune system, right?
A beacon, exactly, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Over here, yeah.
So tell me how does it do that?
Well, research suggests, and this is where it gets really cool, it suggests that ivermectin might actually be doing this by increasing the release of a protein called HMGB1
Okay.
and boosting the surface exposure of another one called calreticulin.
Okay.
These are like giant neon signs for the immune system,
Okay.
signaling danger, saying, look at this is a problem.
Right, right. So it's not just, taking out a couple of cancer cells here and there. It's actually changing the whole playing field, right?
It's changing the
Really
environment.
nicking it. Yeah.
It's altering the environment to make the immune system more adept at dealing with these cells.
Right. So a more activated immune system means a better chance of fighting those really tricky cancer cells.
Absolutely, yeah.
But hold on, because it sounds like ivermectin might have even more tricks up its sleeve.
It does.
Right? It can do even more than that.
Yeah, you are right.
Okay.
Beyond just triggering ICD, there's also research suggesting that ivermectin could also be an immune system coach.
A coach. Now, that's a new one.
It's a way to think about it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So ivermectin appears to target those kind of sneaky immunosuppressive cells,
Okay.
like myeloid cells and regulatory T cells, or TREGs for short.
Okay.
These are the cells that cancer often uses to hide from the immune system.
Oh, wow. Sneaky.
Very sneaky.
So it's like ivermectin is kind of evening the odds a little bit.
It is.
Preventing cancer from bringing in,
The ringers.
the ringers to tip the scales in its favor.
Exactly.
Bro.
Exactly. And not only that,
Oh, there's more.
there's more. Research also suggests that ivermectin might help to boost the activity of T effector cells, or TEF cells,
Okay.
which are, crucial players in directly attacking tumor cells.
Right?
So we're talking about a potential double whammy here.
Okay.
Weakening the enemy's defenses while also empowering our own forces.
I like it. This is getting really, really interesting. Okay.
It is.
So we've got ivermectin potentially triggering a more aggressive immune response,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And even like rebalancing the immune system to fight cancer more effectively. But is this all just theoretical, or is there actual evidence that ivermectin can directly target cancer cells themselves?
That's a great question. And while more research is definitely needed, there are studies that are showing that ivermectin can directly inhibit the growth of various cancer cell lines, at least in, laboratory settings,
Okay.
in vitro in the lab.
Okay, so we're talking actual lab results showing that ivermectin is kind of putting the brakes on cancer cell growth.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
Okay, so tell me more. What kind of cancers are we talking about here?
We're talking breast cancer,
Yeah.
colorectal cancer, leukemia cells. Um, I mean, ivermectin has shown, potential in inhibiting the growth of these cancer cell lines, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive on its own.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious about how ivermectin might work in combination with existing cancer treatments.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Tag teaming against cancer.
yes, tag teaming. Exactly.
I like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like how do they work together?
That's where things get really fascinating. So,
Okay.
researchers are really exploring how ivermectin interacts with other therapies,
Mhm.
particularly checkpoint inhibitors, which are, a cornerstone of immunotherapy these days.
Right. Checkpoint inhibitors, they're basically the ones that release the brakes on the immune system,
Exactly.
allowing it to attack cancer cells much more aggressively.
That's a really good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in studies with mice who had breast cancer, the combination of ivermectin with anti-PD-1 therapy, that's a type of checkpoint inhibitor,
Okay.
led to significant shrinking of tumors. Some mice even experienced complete tumor regression.
Wait. Complete regression.
Yeah,
So the tumors completely disappeared.
that's what the research indicates.
Yes. Wow.
And it seemed like this combination was actually more effective than anti-PD-1 therapy alone,
Wow. Okay.
which is really, really interesting. And in fact, some studies even suggest that it might trigger long-lasting anti-tumor immunity.
Meaning that their immune systems learn to recognize and fight off those specific cancer cells, even if they encounter them again in the future.
Precisely, yes. It's like the immune system developed a memory,
Wow.
remembering how to fight those cancer cells in the future. Now, it is important to remember that this research is largely in the context of breast cancer and with mice models.
Right. Of course.
While there are hints that this combination might be effective in treating other types of cancers as well, we need more research to confirm those findings.
Of course. Yeah. It's incredible though. I mean, it's like giving the immune system a crash course in cancer recognition.
It is,
Right.
right?
It really is.
But, even with these really promising findings, we need to remember that research is ongoing.
Absolutely.
And this is just one piece of the puzzle.
100%. Yeah. While the initial results are incredibly exciting, we can't overstate the importance of rigorous clinical trials in humans
Right.
to confirm these findings and to really establish both safety and effectiveness.
Right.
This type of research takes time, but it's absolutely essential to fully understand the potential of these treatments.
Yeah, it makes total sense. You've got to let the science run its course,
You do.
right?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we've been, laser focused on ivermectin.
Yeah. But you sent us some research on another anti-parasitic drug, fenbendazole,
Yes.
and its potential in cancer treatment too. So what's the story with this one? How's this one work?
So fenbendazole takes a bit of a different approach.
Okay.
While research on its use in humans is, it's in the early stages,
Yeah.
preclinical studies. So those looking at its effects in, cells and animal models are generating a lot of buzz.
Okay.
It seems to target cancer cells by disrupting their metabolism, essentially cutting off their energy supply.
Interesting. Okay. So instead of launching like a direct attack, like we were talking about with the other one, this one's more about disrupting the enemy's logistics,
Exactly.
making it harder for those cancer cells to function and to multiply.
100%. Yeah. It's like, all right, we're going to cut off your supply lines and we'll see how well you do.
I like it.
Yeah. So one way it might be doing this is by inhibiting glycolysis.
Okay. Glycolysis.
It's a
Now,
mouthful.
most cells in our body
Yeah.
can get energy
A
from
variety of sources.
a variety of different
Like
sources,
what?
right?
Yeah.
But cancer cells, they rely heavily on glycolysis.
They do. It's their main source of fuel.
Really? So it's like their main source of fuel. This is what they need.
Yeah, this is how they thrive.
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
you can cut that off,
Right.
that's a really good way to potentially, reduce their growth.
So fenbendazole might be putting cancer cells on a starvation diet?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, that's a good way to think about it.
Right. Yeah. Making it much harder for them to thrive.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't stop there.
Oh, there's more.
There's more. There's evidence suggesting that fenbendazole could also disrupt microtubules.
Microtubules. Now, those sound familiar from, like, high school biology.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Remind me what those are again? What do those do?
So think of microtubules as the scaffolding inside of cells
Okay.
that help them to divide and multiply.
Okay.
They're crucial for cell division, so if you disrupt these structures,
Right.
you're essentially throwing a wrench in the entire replication process.
So it's like we're hitting them with a double whammy then. We're
Yeah.
messing with their energy production
Yeah.
and we're interfering with their ability to divide and spread. And that's incredible. But even with these, promising signs,
Yeah.
there must be challenges
There are always challenges.
in translating these early findings into effective treatments for humans, right?
Of course.
It's like, what kind of challenges are we looking at?
So one of the main hurdles with fenbendazole is its solubility and absorption.
Okay.
It doesn't dissolve easily in water, which can make it difficult for the body to absorb and use effectively.
So even if fenbendazole has the potential to be like this amazing, this cancer-fighting hero.
Cancer-fighting hero, right.
Right.
Just getting it to where it needs to be in the body
Yeah.
at the right dosage becomes a major challenge.
It does. It does. But thankfully, researchers are already on the case.
Okay.
They're exploring ways to improve its delivery. Some are looking into what's called Soluplus polymeric micelles. Soluplus polymeric.
I know, right?
Say that 3 times fast.
They're a mouthful. But think of them as tiny vehicles that encapsulate the drug, and they improve its solubility and make it easier for the body to absorb.
So it's like sneaking the fenbendazole past the body's defenses.
Yes.
And delivering it directly to those cancer cells?
Exactly, yeah. And that's not the only approach.
Okay.
Researchers are also experimenting with salicylic acid, you might know it, as an ingredient in aspirin
Oh, okay, yeah.
to enhance fenbendazole's solubility and drug release rate.
Oh, wow. It's amazing how scientists are always finding these really innovative ways
They're so smart.
to fine-tune these potential treatments.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
it is.
But let's take a step back for a second and kind of bring it home for our listener, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because we've thrown a lot of information their way.
We have.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the key takeaway here? What are people, what should they be thinking about after listening to this?
I think the big takeaway is the incredible potential of repurposing existing drugs like ivermectin and fenbendazole for cancer treatment.
Right.
These drugs are already available.
Right.
They're relatively inexpensive.
Right.
Just imagine the impact this could have on accessibility and affordability
Right.
if this research pans out.
Oh my gosh. It would be a game changer for so many people.
It would be huge.
Especially given how expensive so many cancer treatments are
Oh my gosh, yeah.
these days, right?
Yep.
But, and this is crucial, nobody should be self-medicating with either of these drugs based on what we've talked about today.
Absolutely not. While these early findings are, they're promising,
Right.
they are just that they're early findings.
Exactly.
We need rigorous clinical trials to definitively determine if these drugs are truly safe and effective for treating cancer in humans.
Right. So put down the internet search bar.
Yeah, step away from Google.
Yes, step away.
Step away.
And talk to your doctor about evidence-based treatment options.
Exactly.
We don't want anyone taking unnecessary risks with their health.
Right. It's all about responsible exploration here.
Right.
Not jumping to conclusions or self-treating based on preliminary research.
Couldn't agree more. But it does make you wonder, right? It's like we're on the edge of something really big here.
Yeah.
But we really need those clinical trials to kind of guide us towards safe and effective treatments, right?
100%.
And speaking of possibilities,
Yeah.
we've mostly been focusing on ivermectin and fenbendazole individually.
Right.
But some of the research you sent actually explores their potential synergy
Yes.
when used together.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like combining forces.
Right.
Right. Remember how we were talking about ivermectin and its potential to kind of wake up the immune system?
Right.
Turn those cold tumors hot.
Yeah.
Make those cancer cells stand out and say, hey, over here.
Here I am, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now imagine combining that with fenbendazole's potential to weaken cancer cells by disrupting their metabolism.
Oh, wow.
Right? You're hitting them from 2 different angles, creating this kind of 1-2 punch
Right.
that could make them even more vulnerable to the immune system's attack.
So it's not just, like, it's not additive.
It's not additive. It's like, it could be synergistic.
Synergistic, yeah.
Yeah, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Right. Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really cool concept.
So is there any research that actually supports this idea
There is.
of using ivermectin and fenbendazole together?
Yeah, there's definitely a growing interest in this kind of approach.
Okay.
And while it's still very early,
Right.
there are preclinical studies showing, some promising results.
Okay.
For example, one study found that this combination led to really significant tumor regression
Wow.
in a mouse model of colon cancer, even better than either drug alone.
Wow. Okay, so in that study, the combination therapy really it packed a punch.
It did. It did. But again, you know,
Of course.
we have to be very cautious.
Right.
And remember that these are very, very preliminary findings.
Of course, right. It's still early stages.
Very early
We
stages.
can't get ahead of ourselves.
And we can't emphasize enough how crucial more research is,
Right.
especially, well-designed clinical trials
Right.
before we can draw any definitive conclusions about using this combination in humans.
Of course. Safety and efficacy come first.
Yes.
Right? We wouldn't want anybody rushing into,
Self-medicating.
self-medicating based on early stage research.
Exactly.
Right.
But it does,
It's exciting.
it ignites the imagination,
It
doesn't it?
really does.
The idea that readily available, relatively inexpensive drugs
Right.
could potentially revolutionize how we approach cancer treatment
Yeah.
and make it more accessible and affordable for, countless people. That's a powerful thought.
It is a powerful thought.
It is.
And it really highlights why this kind of research is so important.
It is. It is.
Right. It's about exploring every avenue, challenging assumptions.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And never giving up on the search for better treatments.
Never give up. There's always more to learn,
Nah.
more to discover,
Yeah.
and who knows what breakthroughs are just around the corner.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so exciting.
It is exciting.
Right.
It is.
Is that we never know
Yep, we don't know.
what's going to be discovered next. And
It could be something,
Yeah.
right in front of our noses,
Mhm.
That's what's so cool about it.
It could be, exactly. So this deep dive has certainly left me with a lot to ponder.
Good.
And I hope it's done the same for our listeners.
You too.
But until next time, keep those curious minds engaged.
Absolutely. Always be learning.
And what's funny is a lot of this actually kind of reminds me of
Oh, yeah.
the early days of HIV research.
Oh, interesting.
Right, because I remember
Wow.
when HIV and AIDS first came on the scene, it was nobody knew what to do. It was this big scary thing.
Right.
And people were
Yeah.
dying left and right and
There was so much fear.
so much fear
Misinformation.
and misinformation.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you had these researchers that were kind of,
Pounding the pavement.
counting the
You're
pavement. They were trying everything.
throwing everything and anything.
to see what would stick,
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think what's so powerful about science and about research
Yeah.
is that
It gives us hope.
it gives you hope and it gives you these moments, right, where it's okay,
Get clues.
we might not have all the answers, but
Yeah.
we're willing to keep asking questions. We're willing to keep kind of pushing the boundaries
And importantly, we're learning from what didn't work.
right.
Right. So that we can try something different.
Exactly. And I think that's the big takeaway for me today.
Yeah.
Is that,
The research on ivermectin and fenbendazole as potential cancer treatments, it's still in its early stages.
it is.
But it raises a really, really crucial question, I think.
What's that?
And it's if these readily available drugs, right,
Yeah.
that are already out there, that are already being used for other things,
Relatively inexpensive.
relatively inexpensive, if they show true potential,
Right.
how do we accelerate that research? Right. And how do we make sure that those ethical and well-designed clinical trials
Yes.
are conducted so that we can actually really get some answers for people?
I think that's the million-dollar question right there.
Right.
Is how do we take these really interesting findings and translate them into something that is actually meaningful for patients?
Exactly.
Right. And that's going to take
It's a team effort.
a team effort. It takes researchers, it takes clinicians, it takes patients,
It takes funding.
funding agencies.
Yeah. Working together.
It's a whole ecosystem.
It's a whole ecosystem that has to come together to make something like this happen.
100%.
But I I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic
Actually,
that, if these drugs continue to show promise,
right?
that we will see them, move into those later stages of clinical trials
Oh,
and hopefully eventually, become
well,
available for patients who desperately need them.
that's the dream.
That's the dream. That's why we do what we do, right?
Exactly.
All right. So, I think we're going to wrap it up there, but
Very
this has
good.
been a really, really fascinating deep dive.
It has. It has.
I always learn so much from these conversations.
Likewise. Likewise.
But for our listeners out there,
Yes.
as always, keep those curious minds engaged, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.